6,000 years ago, long before the rise of the Mayans or the Incas, a mysterious group of humans lived somewhere in the Americas. They hunted, they gathered, they buried their dead, and then they vanished. For thousands of years, their traces lay hidden beneath the earth, their story erased from memory. No one knew they had ever existed, until now. Recent DNA research has revealed a forgotten branch of humanity, a group that doesn't fit anywhere on the known genetic map of the Americas. They are neither ancestors of ancient North Americans nor connected to the earliest settlers of the South. So, who were they? To find that answer, we have to go back even further, to around 20,000 years ago when massive glaciers still covered much of North America. Back then, sea levels were so low that a vast land bridge known as Beringia connected Siberia to Alaska. This frozen plain was home to mammoths, bison, and other Ice Age giants. Across this land bridge came the first humans, descendants of ancient Siberian and East Asian hunters. They entered the Americas around 16,000 years ago, carrying with them the earliest genetic seeds of Native American ancestry. And as the ice melted and the world warmed, these people moved south, leaving behind traces so faint we're only now beginning to uncover their story. By 13,000 years ago, the Clovis culture, famous for its distinctive fluted spear points, had spread widely across North America, but newer discoveries, like the 23,000-year-old footprints found at White Sands National Park in New Mexico, suggest humans were there far earlier, is another story. As these early people journeyed south, they funneled through the Isthmus of Panama, a narrow bridge of land connecting two vast continents. This route eventually led them into South America, where they reached the Bogotá Altiplano, a high plateau rising 2,600 meters above sea level in the eastern Andes of Colombia. With its fertile soil, rich wetlands, and abundant wildlife, this region became a perfect refuge for early hunter-gatherers. Here, in the shadow of the mountains, humans learned to thrive in a high-altitude world that was as challenging as it was full of promise. But who exactly were these people, and how did they fit into the larger story of human migration? For decades, scientists believed South America was populated by a single wave of migrants who later diversified regionally. Yet, a groundbreaking discovery in the Bogotá Altiplano has changed that view entirely. A unique genetic lineage found here has revealed a far more complex history than we once imagined. In a landmark study published in Science Advances, an international team of researchers analyzed the genomes of 21 ancient individuals from the Bogotá Altiplano, spanning from 6,000 to just 500 years ago, uncovering clues that may rewrite what we know about the first people of the Americas. Their findings came from DNA extracted from the petrous bones and teeth of these ancient individuals. The results revealed a previously unknown group of pre-ceramic hunter-gatherers who lived around 6,000 years ago. Identified at the Checua site and labeled Columbia 6000 BP, this group represents a basal lineage, a distinct genetic branch that diverged early in the human settlement of South America. Unlike the ancestors of both ancient North Americans and modern South Americans, these people do not share close genetic ties with the Clovis-associated Anzic I individual from Montana, dated to about 12,800 years ago, nor with the California Channel Islands lineage that spread into the central Andes around 4,200 years ago. Instead, they stand apart, an outgroup to most indigenous South Americans, suggesting they were part of an early wave of humans venturing beyond the Isthmus of Panama, possibly among the first to settle deep in the continent. Their genetic profile, analyzed through advanced methods like F4 and F3 outgroup statistics, tools that compare DNA patterns to measure relatedness, showed no close affinity with any known modern or ancient South American populations. Around 6,000 years ago, the Bogotá Altiplano was a vast landscape of grassy plains and wetlands framed by the towering Andes. The Checua hunter-gatherers, the very group this DNA has uncovered, called this high-altitude region home. Living 2,600 meters above sea level, they endured cold nights and thin air, adapting their way of life to survive in one of the most demanding environments of ancient South America. They likely hunted deer, small mammals, and fish from the Altiplano's rivers while gathering wild plants such as starchy tubers and seasonal fruits. Without pottery to cook or store their food, they probably relied on woven baskets, gourds, or animal hides. The DNA analysis also sheds light on their social structure. Among the 7 Checua individuals examined, researchers discovered 4 pairs of close relatives, possibly siblings or cousins, indicating they lived as a small, tightly connected community. 5 of the individuals were men, all carrying a Y chromosome marker known as haplogroup Q1b1a, a paternal lineage widely shared among Native American populations and passed from father to son. Their mitochondrial DNA inherited from mothers displayed greater diversity, with haplogroups B2 and D being the most common, followed by A2 and C1. This mix suggests that while their male ancestry remained stable over generations, their maternal lines reflected broader connections, perhaps through marriages or exchanges between nearby groups. These haplogroups act like genetic labels that help trace maternal ancestry through generations. The wide variety among the Checua individuals' maternal lines suggests a socially dynamic group, one that might have interacted with others despite living in isolation. Using a genetic technique called runs of homozygosity, which measures how much identical DNA a person inherits from both parents, researchers found low levels of inbreeding. This means the Checua people rarely married close relatives, reflecting healthy social diversity within their small community. Their population size was estimated to be 3 to 8 times smaller than later groups, consistent with archaeological evidence of small mobile hunter-gatherer bands during the Preceramic period, roughly 11,500 to 4,000 years ago. This genetic isolation raises intriguing questions. Were they intentionally avoiding contact with neighboring groups, or were the towering Andes simply a natural barrier keeping them apart? Their tools, crafted from stone and bone, point to a nomadic lifestyle, moving with the rhythm of the seasons to follow game and harvest wild plants. Without pottery or agriculture, they lived entirely off the land's natural bounty. But then, the study revealed a dramatic shift, a turning point that changed everything. By around 2,000 years ago, the mysterious Checua people had completely vanished from the Altiplano, replaced by a new population whose DNA was closely related to groups from Central America. This new wave was associated with the Herrera ceramic complex, marking the rise of pottery, farming, and settled life. Scientists confirmed this population shift using advanced genetic tools like AD mixture, which breaks a person's DNA down into ancestral ingredients, and QP wave, which tests whether different groups share a common genetic history. The findings were clear. Populations from the Herrera period, 2,800 to 1,200 years ago, and the later Muisca period, 1,200 to 500 years ago, were genetically similar to each other but entirely different from the ancient Checua lineage. This means the earlier hunter-gatherers were completely replaced, not gradually blended into the later groups. So what happened to the Checua people? The study suggests climate change, competition for resources, or disease may have played a role. The arrival of pottery and agriculture gave the Herrera farmers a survival advantage, allowing them to outcompete or displace the older hunter-gatherer inhabitants. This discovery overturns the long-held belief that the Clovis culture represented the first and only wave of settlers in the Americas. Instead, the Checua reveal a richer, more intricate story, one of multiple migrations, isolated populations, and lost genetic branches. Just like the ancient Beringians of Alaska or the Channel Islands groups in California, the Checua show that early South Americans were far more diverse than we ever imagined. The Altiplano's role as a gateway to South America makes it a prime location for uncovering more secrets of early human migration. Scientists are now urging for expanded DNA research across the continent to trace what happened to the Checua lineage. Did their descendants survive in remote regions like the Amazon or Central America? Could faint echoes of their genes still exist in modern Chibcha-speaking populations? Cutting-edge methods such as single-cell sequencing, which examines DNA at the level of individual cells, and isotopic analysis, which reveals ancient diets and movements through chemical signatures in bones, might soon provide the answers. The discovery also opens deeper questions about human adaptation and survival. How did the Checua endure the harsh, high-altitude environment of the Andes? And what ultimately caused their disappearance? Climate changes, like the warming period around 6,000 years ago, may have disrupted their food sources, while the rise of pottery and agriculture likely gave incoming farming societies a decisive edge. Solving these mysteries will require close collaboration between archaeologists, anthropologists, and geneticists, each uncovering a new piece of the human puzzle. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to help us keep exploring humanity's forgotten chapters. And don't forget to comment your thoughts about the Checua people and what you think might have happened to them. See you in the next one.